I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag of the
of the United
United
States
States of America
and
and
to
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
with liberty and justice
For all.
Thank you. So we have a new announcement, the COVID announcement that we need to make. The ability to do a remote meetings was extended to 2025.
Wow.
Under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20F, meeting being recorded. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18, this meeting of the Westport Community Preservation Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public is required, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or to view this meeting while in progress may do so by following the remote links listed on the posting online. An audio recording of this meeting will be posted on the town's website as soon as we are able. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of January 12th, 2023. Those minutes were distributed. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I'll second that.
Hugh
Tim
Morton
Gillespie, second.
moved. Tim Gillespie seconded. Is there any discussion, any amendments? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Hugh?
Hugh Morton, aye.
Mark?
Mark Schmid, aye.
Dale?
Dale Weber abstain. I wasn't present.
Phil?
Bill Weinberg, aye.
Garrett?
Garrett Stock, aye.
Tim?
Tim Gillespie, aye.
Betty Slade, aye. That is unanimous. Thank you. So tonight we have Fernando Larguina. We'll start with him. He's been working with the Westport United Youth Soccer for an awfully long time, and he has an outstanding project. It's been going on for a very long time. So he wanted to talk to us about his plans and some bids that he had. So could you bring us up to date, Fernando, on the electricity and the well?
Well, back then, the electric and we at one of the meetings, still doing the live meetings prior to COVID, we did approve a contractor to go ahead and do the electric. As of November of 2022, the electric was complete based on what they had to do. We do have electric down there, meters down there, and everything is running according to what they proposed to go ahead and do with their bid. So everything has been done from them, but I don't have the exact number. I know it was 22,000 and change. The bids back in, I'm trying to remember when we did that bid and approved one one of the bidders of the three. So that is done. We still
It was FY19.
FY19, let's show you.
For
Quite a bit.
40,000.
Yeah, I know it was before the COVID hit.
Right.
So we approved that, and the work is all done as of November. So we go ahead and proceed and release the funds to Reynolds Electric. That's who we gave the bid to.
Okay.
And they did a great job. They restored everything back the way it's supposed to be. The electric is running. It was inspected, and we have electric in the building and ready to stop paying the bill.
Fernando, you didn't come before us with that bid, did you?
Yes, I did.
You did, I was trying to.
We did talk about it, and
Uh-huh.
we did talk about it, and it was approved by CPC to go ahead and give it the lowest bidder.
Mm.
So we went and proceed with that, and the work is all done, and go ahead and release the funds to them.
So you're, again, I'm behind the scenes and John isn't here.
I kept John in the loop even after November.
He's not here right now. So did you present the bill? Did you send?
We haven't paid the bill. And they
That's my question. Okay, I didn't think
Okay.
so.
No,
So-
we haven't paid the bill. And I asked them a couple of times if they received anything from you guys or if they put anything in. And they said no. And
Okay, that's
I
the,
would look into things. And that's why I'm here at this meeting today, is to get that squared away with them. They haven't been pushy. I'm the one that's been calling them, not them calling me.
okay. So when we receive the bill, we will do a voucher and we will pay it.
Okay, I will make sure that they send it forward to you, to the town, and make sure it gets to CPC for the bill.
And please send it to Maria
Send it to Maria.
and myself. Yes.
Okay.
And John, always with John.
All right, yeah.
So anything else?
Now, we are still working on the well. I only got one bid on the well. We're still continuing with the well. At one time, we were deciding not to do it, but we changed our mind and we're going to go ahead and put the well in. And we're not doing irrigation with it. It just needed water. Right now, I just spent $4,000 on doing some sod, some work, some maintenance on the fields. And now it figures we get this hot weather when I don't want it. I wanted rain. And right now I'm concerned about that, the money we're spending now on to restore certain areas of the soccer field where it's been worn out. And we had someone come in and do the work. And so it came out to close to $4,000. And I'm hoping the sod doesn't get burnt with these 2 days that we're getting extreme weather of more than what we expected. So that's when when we got them to do that, we were worried about that. And that's when we proceeded to go ahead and stay with the one bid. And then I still got 2 more to go. I got to get 3. So I will get 3 of you, and then I will come back and schedule a meeting to approve the lowest bidder to go ahead and proceed to put the well in.
Fernando, as you know, the WYA has had problems with, they are putting in an irrigation system.
Well, I knew they were going to run into that problem.
But how about you?
We're not using it for irrigation.
So you
We
don't,
plan to use it for irrigation. We do the same irrigation the high school did since 1970. Mother Nature. And we've been very good fertilizing. If you go down our fields right now, they're nice and green. They're growing. It's just starting to grow. Everything's coming back. So we just keep doing our work of whatever we have to do to keep our grass green. Over this past summer, and over to coming to the fall, we got a lot of compliments from outsiders. I know we had a very warm summer last year, and I know a lot of people's grass was burning and all that, but I tell you that Westport Soccer, our grass was green.
well, you've had those fields in there a long time.
We've been now
Well
playing
established.
since 2013.
Yeah, so they're established. I think that's
Yeah,
one of the
we've
big
been there for now
problems.
for 10 years playing on the fields. I mean, one at a time, but the first 2 fields was in 2013. We started playing there in 2013. So they are established and everything, but you still get your wear and tear based on how many games. They switched us South Coast travel, no more Sunday games. So this past weekend we had 10 games played at those fields. It was a great time. And weather was better than the week before with the rain. So, no, it's been going good. It's been going great. We're back to over the 450 mark of participants in the fall, and having 13 travel teams. A lot of towns are going downhill based on their program. And Westport, we've been going up the other way. and sticking to what we believe to keep our fall program the best we can. And that's what establishes our spring program to keep it going up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're doing pretty good.
Good. Does anyone on the committee have any questions or discussions or
I have a comment.
Tim?
I would just like to say that it's guys like Fernando that make these programs work. Guys that give their time to do volunteer work to support the children's activities in this town. And there aren't enough Fernandos around, but at least we got him.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
That's true. We thought we'd lost you because we didn't see you for so long. So I'm
No,
really glad
they
to
won't-
see
They
you.
won't let me go. They won't let me leave. It's
It's a
not,
good thing too.
I'm trying to groom my grandson because he does a pretty good job helping me out painting the fields already at 10 years old.
Oh,
So I'm trying to groom him, and eventually maybe he'll take over as president. I don't know.
wow. That's wonderful.
So,
So no other comments. So thank you very much for coming and talking to us. We're very pleased to hear about the electricity and hope that we get your bids for the well. By the way, it doesn't have to be the cheapest. If there's any problem with the bids, it doesn't have to be the cheapest. I mean, we want a good company, some that you know is reliable.
yeah, that's our main thing. That's how it is today.
Okay.
And it might cost a little more, but knowing that you're going to get all the work done the way you need it is the way we have to go.
Exactly. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy. And, nice seeing you all. Thank you very much.
Bye,
And
Fernando.
I'll be seeing you as soon as those bids come in. I'll get them to you.
All righty.
Thank you. Bye
So-
now.
Third item on the agenda is the Westport Historical Society Bell School RFP. And so should I read the whole thing through?
Please no.
You've had plenty of time to read it.
Looks
This is-
perfect.
It is perfect. It's very good. And I think that Jenny is here, Yvonne is here. All we have to do tonight is to approve it. I've been through a lot of it and I've been answering email after email from Yvonne about details, and I think we're all set. Mark, I'd like you to say what you want to say about the RFP. You've been following this very closely and helping with it. Do you have any comments or anything to say?
Well, sure. I'll just say that in your packet, you can see there's a list of 12 drawings, and there's 2 pages of specifications that go with this bid form. And as I think maybe some of you don't know, but the architect is right now, I think he's out in Colorado, but
Right.
when he gets back, he will finish up, make the final adjustments to this RFP. And the goal is to issue it by the end of this month. And we plan on a month of bidding. We have a tentative list of about a dozen potential contractors. And when the architect gets back, he will be calling each one, if he hasn't contacted them, to assess their level of interest. And if they say they're interested, then we'll send them the bid package, but we're not going to just send it out until we've discussed it. I mean, as you all know, right now, the climate for building and the costs of projects is pretty, there's a lot of work out there. I wouldn't be surprised if out of a list of 12 potential contractors that maybe half respond positively, that is. So, but we don't know. I mean, maybe we'll be lucky, but keep in mind that this is a bid project, and in today's world, there's a lot of work going on without bids. So, but I think the prestige of this, doing a project for the Westport Historical Society will be something, if they're interested in pursuing this kind of work, would be well worth their effort if they can do it. So we'll see. But the general outline of the time frame is bids would go out the end of this month. We're giving a month to have them put together, and by the end of the month, we'll open them up, and then we're allowing a month for sort of digesting the bids. You always have to go back and ask each person sort of questions about what they included, what they didn't include, and et cetera, and try to tease out all the discrepancies or the differences in one person's numbers versus another person's numbers,
Right.
and then come to a decision of who the society would like to, the committee, who they'd like to pick as their contractor, and then probably another month to get the contract and the details sorted out, and we'll see what their timing is when they can start.
So, as everyone knows, a couple of you may not have been here when we look at these RFPs, but the Historical Society is private, and therefore it's not subject to prevailing wages and the normal procurement that town projects are subject to. And the present town administrator, it's the first time we're working with him on a private RFP like this, and he has said basically that he will not be involved. He's looked at it, but he will not be involved in this. But he's offered to have his office be the repository for the bids, because the Westport Historical Society right now is not in its own building. So we need a place where people can come and put their bids if they want to do the physical versions of them. And so on next week, I believe Jenny and Yvonne will be coming and talking with Denise Bouchard, and she will be handling them. They also are going to talk to her about the groups that the town sends these bids to, in case that is another possibility to find interested firms. So Hugh, you had your hands up.
Yeah, just a very, very unimportant comment. And on other things, I've heard that some projects are not going ahead because interest rates have had an effect upon them. So it may be easier than we think, but time will tell, because there may be less competition because costs have gone up rather than prices.
Okay. Al Lees?
Hi, thank you. I just a very quick comment, but it's important to me and to all the members of the Historical Society. The RFPs are going out to what I would call local contractors. Now, what does local mean? Dartmouth, Westport, Little Compton. I'm sure there's some, outliers in, the far reaches of the world, like Fall River, Dartmouth, Tiverton. But the point I'm getting at is that we have made every effort and are very committed to keeping the money and the bidding process in the local economy, so that our tradespeople and families and friends can take advantage of this project. So that's all I wanted to say. But I do believe that it's important to me, and I know it's important to everybody else on the board.
Thank you, Al. I'd like to compliment you all for your endeavors. You really are careful and professional. And Mark, I know you've been very much of a help to them. This has been a really good beginning of our kind of private projects where we're all on our own, the Historical Society and the WYA, et cetera. So I'd like to thank you all too. Any other comments or questions by the board?
Well, Betty, thank you. But also, I mean, it really is the members of the society. They're very committed. In the short time that I've worked with them, they're very committed to this and to their their mission in general. And this is such an important building for the town because we need a place, they need a place to a climate controlled, properly constructed repository for these very, very valuable artifacts. And so and they're putting their money where their mouth is too, because this money that the CPC is giving will go a long way, but it doesn't cover the whole project, of course.
There's also, of course, private money that's involved. This is one of the key goals of CPC is the public-private cooperation. Hugh, your hands up.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask for that. We know that there's private money. It may be something you don't wish to comment on at this point, but if you do, some idea of how the fundraising is going.
Yeah. If you want to talk about it, how's it going? Al?
Sure. Hugh, it's a great question, and the simple answer is that we have been waiting to get to this stage, not CPC specifically, but and the RFPs to go out and do fundraising. We have had I have gone pardon me, to 3 or 4 different individuals, have had enthusiastic success on the ask, and once we get past this phase and get a handle on timing, financing, et cetera, it's going to go full bore. So it is the question of the day. I mean, pricing is absolutely ridiculous in certain areas, and we just don't know what we need at this point. But having said that, it's a project that needs to be done, and we as a quick last point, we are also working on phasing a project. We would love to build out completely, of course, but we want to be judicious about the money that we have and the money that we spend and make sure it goes in the best use and in the best places. And if we have to do a little phase in, that's fine. And once we get all this, Hugh, and thank you for opening up the door on fundraising. You and I will have a cup of coffee.
Sounds good.
So I'd like to just add, and Mark, you could comment on this, is you found some other issues in the process of developing this project. Isn't that correct? Some problems that you're going to have to solve with other funding. Isn't that correct?
Well, they did discover that the existing second floor of the building requires substantial amount of reinforcement and additional floor joists and some supporting columns have to be added. So that wasn't anticipated until they got in and demolished the ceiling of the first floor and they could see what was up there.
Well, one of the interesting things that again is new with this project is this project is the total project. It includes the CPC part of it, and I should say, the CPC finance or CPA funding finance part of it. And I talked to the town administrator about an RFP which included the whole project, and he was fine with it. And we will, because it includes everything that we had agreed to pay for. So we will pay up to the amount that the town meeting has appropriated for the project. At what stages you need to have that funding. Okay. Anybody else?
Betty, just, I don't want to prolong this, but as you know, you might notice in the RFP, there is a provision for what are called alternates, in this case, add alternates. So the contractors will be asked to provide a separate number for certain pieces of the work, which upon receipt of all the bids, if the society decides that they need to cut back on their budget, just as Al was saying, you can phase the work, or you could just pull out these alternates and exclude them from the contractor's scope of work initially, and they could be added in, or once the money comes through, they could be done later.
Excellent. Al?
I just wanted to say that was an excellent suggestion by Mark at our last meeting. So I just want to give him a shout out for that because, and in addition, and I think he's being modest, we were also asking our contractors for ways of, I'm not sure what the fancy word is for it, but to be able to look at a section and say, what if you do this? We can lower the cost if we do, A, B, C, whatever it might be. So, it's a nice partnership with CPC and of course with Mark as being the rep. It's, it will flow. It just needs to get over this hump.
So thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Hugh Morton? Hugh, was that you?
That was me, yes.
Hugh Morton, a second, please.
Second. Dale
Please say
Weber.
your name.
Sorry, Dale Weber, second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we will now have a vote. Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Mark,
Mark Schmid, aye.
Dale,
Dale Weber, aye.
Phil,
Bill Weinberg, aye.
Garrett,
Garrett Stock, aye.
Tim,
Tim Gillespie, aye.
Betty Slade, aye. That is unanimous. Congratulations and good luck to the Historical Society.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for attending. So, Jim, is it Sabra or Sabra?
Either way, I hear it always.
do
Sabre
you
is
like?
preferred.
What do you like?
Sabre is preferred.
Sabra. Tim, did you have a question?
I didn't. I accidentally hit the hand. I didn't mean to.
Oh, okay. So, Jim is, I think, acting. Is that right? Are you the acting chair of the Affordable Housing Trust?
That is
Or
correct.
did they make you permanent?
Not yet. I'm here by default.
Here by default. We haven't had, as you all know, Liz Collins has resigned. We do not have a representative from the Housing Authority. They do not have anybody yet who's replaced her. I think they're waiting for that. And once they have somebody else, I think they will vote on who will be the representative to the CPC. Interestingly enough, we do not work with the Housing Authority in any way these days. There's a possibility in the future we might do it, but we do work with the Affordable Housing Trust, yet they have no liaison or representative. So it's up to us to ask the Affordable Housing Trust to come in from time to time. So I think that Bob Barbosa is also here. And I think he is the clerk. Is he here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And also, I think he's also working as a temporary housing officer. So, Jim, I open it up to you to tell us what's going on with the Affordable Housing Trust.
Sure, Betty, thank you. And hello to all members. And thank you from the other 5 trust members as well. We really respect our relationship with CPC and historically what you've been able to do for us and in turn, for the members of the town. Thanks to Liz's past leadership, she's really left us in great shape, both as a board and fiscally. And so I was vice chair, so here I am as chairperson. Possibly looking to continue on and continue the mission as spelled out in the housing production plan. And also with the programs that we have established and have been able to satisfactorily, since our inception, bring on 58 units to the affordable housing inventory. We have a few things going on. Because we've been in existence, we've got some historic data now that we see what programs work best. And, we've been able to get sufficiently funded. Thank you again to your efforts. And, we look to continue working with both private and public sector to continue that mission and hopefully continue with the financing that we need, not only to support the programs, but the office that is open every Wednesday still. We haven't changed any of our processes. Bob is there from 10 to 4 every Wednesday, for the general public to come in. We're efficiently maintaining the website so the public can go on and see exactly what programs we're offering. We're finding that the run on the real estate in the past couple of years has really created a greater disparity in affordability. With that, we see the increase in the calls and the needs in the office. There are other things going on out there that we see. Consulting services needed. Leonardi, as some of you may know, was our full-time housing specialist. He stepped back and we put an RFP out where we were able to come within the right numbers and hire Array Architects as a consultant on an as-need basis. And I must say that Bob is stepping in as our, I'd like to say permanent, but he's working very well as our housing specialist and has kept me in line as far as our regulations, our needs, our paperwork. So again, thanks to Liz, but I really feel we haven't missed a step. We miss her, but we're running, I think, as efficiently as we were before.
What about the Habitat for Humanity project? How's that going?
Great
Tell us
project. Yeah.
about it. We've never
Yeah.
report on it, really.
Yeah, so we're proud of that one. Anytime you can work with the Habitat, that's a great cause. They do a great job. Just by the nature of how they do things, they don't move too quickly because it's all volunteer, both fiscally and the labor. Windows are going in, roof is coming on. So I think by mid to late of this year, they should have those 2 units filled, the 2 condominium units. And I'm thinking by the end of this year, they'll be occupied.
The old colony work crews are back on the job too, so it should pick up a little.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Fine. So what is the amount of money that you have in the large scale project to buy property that you've been putting aside? I know we've given about 400,000 to that. Is that the total that you have?
It's all still there. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Do you have any other sources of funding? I read somewhere you were looking for other sources of funding. I know that's hard, but
Very hard. We just have loan repayment that really is at a minimal flow. That comes up if somebody has a deed rider that sells short of the grant time period, that depreciated amount will come back to us. I don't think that's happened more than maybe once or twice in our existence. Bob, you may have a better handle on that number, but so very, very little flow other than what, your group, grants to us. So we're particularly dependent on that and are formulating a request for the next round.
There's state grant money out there, but they're all project specific. You have to have a project, a site secured and an RFP proposal to get any state help, really. But the money is out there.
Bob, if you do get a site, is that when you would start applying for money, or how do you expect to handle that if you do find a site that you can buy? How does it work?
Well, just like any other town agency, we issue a request for proposals, and either nonprofits or for-profits look at the site and propose whatever scale project they can come up with.
Do you
So
think
recently we took a run at the diocese property across from Nogachoke, and we dealt with the diocese and their broker. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough funding to straight out purchase it. It was $1.2 million. But we did have the funds, to tie the property up and use it as a deposit. Unfortunately, we lost out to a private developer, and we just weren't granted the time. We structured the deal but it just wasn't attractive enough when they had private bids that came in and beat us out. We were hoping to get it because we were gonna go right to an RFP, tie it up with our money, and hopefully, timely get some RFP bids to coordinate a subsidized project there, but, the market was hot and we weren't afforded the time, to get through it, so.
I also was wondering about, did you do a response to the long-term building committee's RFI or RF, what if it's RFI, I think it was called. Did you all do a response to that? For this is for utilization of the high school for affordable housing?
We did. So Leonardi put together a very good presentation. This was early on, I believe, when the first committee was established.
Yes.
And great presentation. The high school is high on our list to hopefully be involved at some point, in hopes that there's affordability aspect and housing aspect to that future development, whether it's raised or whether it's the land opportunity. So we really would be eager to be involved with that. But Leonardi we did present it, and we can certainly get you a copy of it if it hasn't been seen.
Did he think it was viable?
We do. They were present. The presentation involved using the existing high school building itself, and also part of it was to use the land as new construction units out in the field. So it looked at both ways of approaching the property, both from the existing building, again, from the land opportunity. But without further direction, it's tough to really go further other than what we presented.
Mhm. Mm. Does anyone have any questions or comments or advice? Mark?
Yeah, Betty, if I could, this is
Sure.
actually quite timely. There's, well, as Jim just said, they did submit a proposal when the long-term building committee 2 years ago was started initially looking at potential, looking at the whole issue of what should be done with the old high school. And the committee was considering a whole series of different options, one of which is housing. And housing has been, you hear that all the time in town when you talk to people, like, what do we need? And you hear the people say, well, we need senior housing, we need affordable housing. And a couple of things are about to happen. One is that there's a committee of the planning board on which I'm serving that is looking at the whole issue of rezoning Route 6. And one of the priorities will be create zoning or areas along Route 6 where housing in particular would be prioritized, would be targeted. So there may be, and this whole process may take a few years, but in this, the outcome will be that there may be many or several parcels that open up along the Route 6 corridor. A lot of this, by the way, I got to back up and say for a minute, it all depends on the ability to get sewer installed and along Route 6, because the whole idea, and we're relatively optimistic that that will happen. And when that does, that opens up the entire corridor for various development opportunities, whether it be housing or commercial development or retail or industrial. So the purpose of this group that's studying the corridor is to come up with a sort of a master plan, if you will, of how that corridor could be developed once sewers and water is brought in. And the last thing is that coming up at the town meeting, there's going to be an article that asks the town for additional funds to do a further feasibility study of the high school. There have been a couple of studies that have been done, and that's been good, but they haven't really, there are so many options available in developing that building. And the real question for the town is, what are the priorities of the town? Do we want to keep the building, or do we want to just sell it and get what we can for it? But there's sort of two camps I know in town, but and this will probably result in some discussion at the town meeting, but the selectmen have put forward an article in the warrant asking for some additional funding to hire a team of professional consultants who can do some outreach to the town. So it's not just a group of 4 or 5 people sitting around a room deciding what could be the options for that building. But certainly housing will be one of those options. And they will be asked to look at that in detail and then come up with some solid cost estimates. And those options would be then brought to the town for a final vote as to what they'd like to do with it.
So that Article 26, I think it is,
Yeah.
also looks at the other town-owned property around, and just in order to get a more comprehensive thought towards whether or not it would be feasible to keep the building and develop it. Hugh?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm familiar with one study, so-called, was done a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
which is totally useless because it focused on the physical plant and what could physically be done with it, with no consideration whatever of financial cost or upkeep or revenue or anything else. So that one you throw out. And that, I think, is the key. There's a figure that I've heard, which I have no support for elsewhere, 25 million or so to renovate the old high school. I wouldn't take that one seriously, but it wouldn't be cheap to turn a school into whatever. And that really is my question. Anybody have any thought of where there would conceivably be any funding to do whatever somebody comes up with, since the town is certainly not in a position to do it financially?
You're speaking to the Affordable Housing Trust people?
Well, I'm trying that to start with, since that's what we're talking about now. And that
Yeah,
was
because that's
part of
our
the physical, analysis, but there's no financial analysis. I am hopeful, obviously, that the study, which would be authorized by the warrant article, involved a financial analysis as well as a physical analysis.
Right. So that really the warrant article is just simply asking the town to agree or not agree to the 200,000 for feasibility study. It doesn't seem like they're going to allow a lot of discussion because it's not on topic, and knowing Steve Forrest, he'll keep us on topic. So Mark?
Yes. I mean, I wasn't part of the group that drafted that warrant article, but I think they mean by that, they say up to $200,000, but I think the notion is to bring in a professional group a planning group that can hold a series of townwide workshops and get the input from the whole town, and then perhaps winnow it down to a few options, and then drill down on those options and find out what the real costs are. And I may be mistaken about this, but
Actually,
I
Mark,
think that's part of it.
the finance committee just passed on that, and Hugh was at that, and that whole, I don't know how relevant this is to affordable housing right now. I'm just, the reason I asked was Bob said that there was funds out there. And my question is, what funds are out there? And how do you get to those funds? Because if you are presenting, and this is important to us because we're CPC and we're asked for funding, but this is not the kind of funding that CPC could do for you because there aren't that many CPA funds. So I was just kind of interested in if you had found funding to be able to develop a property or the school. I don't think have you gone that specific? Jim, could you answer that?
Sure. So, the high school is a big project and,
Right.
there's an assumption that housing is going to be a portion of it and not 100% of it. Regardless of the size of the project, we would do something that was similar to Nogachoke Village, if you would, where if there was a price tag on it, either a portion of would be granted to the trust from the town, whether it be for $1 or some other sum. We would then RFP that section out to a qualified developer who then would be the carrying financial agency to develop it into an acceptable project. So trying to use as little as our funds, but yet get it out there so the developer carries the burden. Now, if I can take my hat off as a trust chair, my day job is real estate, both commercial and residential. And don't fall off your chairs with what I'm about to say, but it very is likely that if these consultants come back and the numbers to construct, tear down are as much as what we're saying, that it's not unlikely that the high school property gets given for $1 to create a large tax revenue base, depending on the development presentation by some qualified developer. So the revenue of the high school comes over time in tax revenue versus an outright purchase. You're not getting $20 million for that site, or 12, or anything else that I've heard for the past couple of years. That's my opinion, not as trust chair, as a broker. So, Hugh, you're shaking your head. Yes, I hope you have some comment.
Thank you very much.
I was just saying, I agree with
Not
that.
all real estate has positive value. Let me say that again as well.
Are there any other questions relative to, the work of the Affordable Housing Trust? Well, we really appreciate your coming. This has been good. It's been a while since we've had any, discussion, so it's been very helpful. Thank
If
you
I could
very
just
much.
mention, if I may, if I could mention something to Mark, were you referring to the MBTA requirements that are coming we're in a budding town to Fall River, as you know, and the MBTA, we either going to opt in or opt out. There are ramifications of both. And I was just wondering if the planning board had any status on that, because Route 6 seems to be the highest and best location to satisfy the MBTA requirement, should we opt in for it.
No, you're right, Jim. We're cognizant of it, and that is one of the considerations.
My
Right.
understanding is that there is consideration of affordable housing in that area, definitely.
And
Right.
part of our budgeting is to increase our assistance, technical assistance. At some point, if we have to jump on board and deal with the planning board and associate with what has to be done or could be done there as a result of eventually getting
great.
sewer. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think one of the requirements of being an adjacent community is 15, they can have 15 units per acre, up to 5% of your housing,
Right.
total housing.
And the more
All
we
right.
produce, the more favorable the grants acceptance are.
So thank
thank
you
you.
very much. We really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
you.
you, Bob,
Take
and
care.
good luck.
Thank you.
So the rest of the items are short, and you've seen them. You all know Elizabeth Collins has resigned, and I'd like to, we haven't sent her a thank you letter, so I'd like to send her a thank you letter in everyone's name. I don't think I need a vote on that. I think that's a natural thing to do. And then the Town Hall Annex projects update. That's Tim. We don't have I think we have the projects outstanding, but there have been projects, and you'll see where we've been paying some bills, but there's an FY15 Town Hall Annex gym, the FY18 Town Annex roof, the F21 Town Hall Annex rear recreation project. So there's the 4 of those.
Yeah,
And so a couple things. One, I'd like to know if any of them should be swept. Swept means that we turn the money back in for historical preservation or recreation, depending on which what it is, it goes into their undesignated funds. So the sweeping is a possibility, whether you want to keep it and what progress has been made. So let's start with FY15, Tim.
Yeah, the gym, we've actually gotten a couple of major things done. We've got a new railing in the ramp that when you come into the building, the handicap ramp. We've got a handicap accessible doorway. I'm not sure that it's fully functional right now. We had a problem with one of the buttons, and Dana was going to check that, but Dana's been sick, so I should have a report on that at the next meeting at least, but hopefully that'll be done. There's a few cosmetic things that remain to be done there, just to clean up some of the entryways, both sides. And there's some painting and stuff and cleaning up that needs to be done. So I'd like to leave some money in there.
Fine,
for
fine.
now.
Okay. That's fine. The roof?
I think we can probably sweep most of that, or at least a good portion of that. I would still like to leave about $5 or $6 grand in there in case we want to go into the planning board office and paint the ceiling and repair some damage that happened from water infiltration. So why don't we sweep about...
Tim, let's just leave the whole thing.
Right.
It's more of a problem for her to do partial than to do the whole thing. So we'll leave that.
All right.
So you think it'll be about 5,000 more that you'll be using?
I don't even know if it'll be that. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. And then the last one is the FY21 Town Hall Annex Rear Recreation Project.
We've got a few more things in mind to do back there. I'd like to leave that money there.
Okay. So no sweeping. The Council on Aging roof, we were supposed to have swept that a long time ago, I think. Isn't that correct? Or because the winter, we were waiting for a winter, remember, to pass, and the winter has passed and the summer's passed. So is there anything else that needs to be done on that roof that you know of?
Is John Bell the guy that's been sort of monitoring that?
Yes. Well, you are the liaison.
Yeah.
He hasn't been monitoring it. No, he's been monitoring the other Council on Aging, the 2,196.
Well, there was a suggestion that around the chimney, there might have been some issues. So I should probably get over there and try and figure that out before we sweep it.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Council on Aging, John has asked Beverly many times, and she just hasn't had it painted. She hasn't been able to find anybody, it seems like. So the other projects are the town records, phase 4. I'm leaving that funding because things come up. And now that we have a new town clerk, I've contacted her and asked her if we could talk. And once and I'm going to let her know what this project is, because we've worked with the town clerk all the way through, from Marlene to Bernadette to now to Kristen Stinson. Then the Point Terminus survey, I think that it can be swept. I've offered it, by the way, Garrett, to the Historical Commission to do research, and I never have heard anything. Do you think that there's any interest in doing deeper research on those houses and buildings down there? For the historic register of the Register of Historic Places, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really discussed it. I can bring it up again at our next meeting, but
You want me to hold it?
yeah, yeah. Why don't you hold it?
I'll remind you.
Thank you.
You know I will. The gravestone repair, it's amazing what's going on. The team has repaired over 800 stones.
Wow. Wow.
We've cleaned 1,500 stones. I don't do repair. I just work on cleaning. And then there's a website, a web page, the Facebook web page that you should look at. The amount of research that's being done is just remarkable. The Friends North Cemetery, which is across from just north of the high school, we've put in 4 flowering trees, and we're putting in a bench, and we're cementing it down, so hoping it will stay there. And we've done a sign which talks about the history of that place. That's been a very special project. And we will be doing at the Historical Society Artisan Fair, we will have a table to show people how to, I think there'll be some demonstrations of repair, but mostly it'll be how to clean the stones. And the Bell School rehabilitation we talked about earlier. So we're all set on that, Tim. I'll move on. The CPC handout for town meeting, I think several people commented on it. We, if anybody else has any comments tonight, it would be, that's not it.
No.
That's the annual report.
How about that?
That looks good to me. So the Snell Creek Conservation Restriction, that was written by Alan Decker from the Buzzards Bay Coalition, because he needed to get, for the first time in all these years, he wanted to put a special article just for the Snell Creek Conservation Restriction into the warrant. But Jim Hartnett told him it was, I said it wasn't necessary. Jim said it wasn't necessary, but he's got wording in here that's going to help him with the sale of the property, the other parts of the property, and getting the conservation restriction. So were there any, other than that, originally was written by John Bell, and I edited it, and other people gave me some edits. Does anybody else have any comments? You know, Steve Forbes told me that this handout is part of the warrant. The handouts that we put out are part of the warrant. I had not realized that. So we're trying to be very careful, just in case. So if you go through it again and find an error, let me know, because I want to get it into him probably in about a week. I'll get it into, it has to be approved by Steve Forbes before we can distribute it. The annual report you'd already seen. I've just sent it again to be sure. The CPC expense accounts, there's not much to discuss there unless anybody had a question. Then Article 21, we've already looked at the CPC warrant article for the town meeting, which we'd already looked at. The report to the select board and FinCom I've sent to you. I did a report to both of those separately. Very well received, and Hugh was very helpful at the Finance Committee, always. The two tables, which are items 12 and 13, you've gone way past that. You're at Bill's.
I passed it?
You passed it, yeah. I'm looking at number 12. Oops, maybe Maria, you sent it in a different time. Number 12.
What was the table? What did it have?
The land, CR, and APR purchases. It's number 12. I'm sorry, you went.
I don't think we have it here.
I think she sent it earlier. Does anybody remember it?
Yes, I saw it earlier. It's in the, I think, wait a minute, is that it?
There's number 12 right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
All
gotta
right,
turn
this
it
is-
around though.
This is on the town website. I don't know how many of you looked at your CPC that website, but I update this every year. And it's very interesting. If you wondered what we've done in CPC, this is part of mostly with our cooperation with the Land Trust. But it shows all the different projects, what they cost, what kinds of, it was a CR, et cetera, on it. So if you really are interested in that, take a look at that, and it's updated. And then the next one I do again, I take all the project and I allocate them. And I've been doing this for quite a few years now. And I allocate them because sometimes people ask, what have you spent on recreation? What do you spend on historic buildings and so forth? So this gives you a good view of the categories that we spend in, private, public, or different things that you can do. It's an arbitrary, it's arbitrary in the sense that some of them I put together, but they are from the title of either affordable housing, historical, recreation, or open space. So that is the agenda, the planned agenda. Is there any other business? No correspondence? And then go to 16, Tim. This one, can you turn it? People may have looked at it.
What is this? GIS mapping?
Okay, so as you know, CPC has been involved with some various aspects of cemetery project, registering the cemeteries, repairing the stones, setting up the website, and all of that. And Sharon Potter and Theo Gabriel, Sharon was the former head of the assessors and now works just as much as she did before, which is interesting. Anyway, they said to me that we would like to do a better assessment of the location of the cemeteries that are registered with the state, because they were not exact. And so sometimes if you looked at the GPS, it would be in the street. I mean, if it would show it in the street. That's because Paul and I used a handheld GPS 15 years ago doing this. So anyway, they asked for their professional company who does the assessments to go in and put accurate GPS readings. And we did that. First, Sharon and I worked on this an awful lot from my main tables. So now the town has all those tables. And then we looked at where the cemeteries actually were on the assessor's maps, did a GPS for that, and we hired someone to put this into the Westport GPS. So now there'll be no problem about where those cemeteries actually are. And I consider that as protection of the cemeteries, the historical cemeteries. So I felt that they haven't done it yet. They're waiting for this contract. And I believe it's, what is it, Maria, what's the amount? 2,700, I think. Tim, could you go down to see what the amount is? $2,700. And I would like to use the CPC administrative funds to pay for this. So I'm asking if you all would approve this. If anybody, if there's a motion to approve.
I would move enthusiastically to support this.
I'll second that.
So Tim moved and Hugh second. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to say that the whole cemetery project has just been astounding from the very beginning. And of course, it wouldn't have happened if it were not for Betty, who did so much of that work in the early days and continues to do so. But it's particularly significant and important to the town because now, with more accurate mapping, the planning board, when they receive applications for subdivisions and any kind of subdivision control, those maps will show where these cemeteries are and there will be no confusion.
Exactly.
Real important.
That has been a serious problem. And I've been called on often to go back and look at all the deeds in order to, my surveyors who said, you know, I don't see this cemetery there, you know, of course, but they were on the deed, so they were there. Also, Tim, I'd like to, this group of Todd Batista, Troy Rebello, Laura Oliveira, and Dawn Young are outstanding. And for me, it's so important because they're young, you know, and they're taking over, and they're incredibly talented, hardworking, and care so much. And they're historians. So it's just, it's very exciting. And the town is also taking over the cemetery website. It's been down off and on. We've had lots of troubles I've spent 4 sleepless nights with that thing. But anyway, we are going to get a new, I hope, a new server for the website. We've copied everything on the website. We're hoping to put it in a new language. I think it's in Cold Fusion 10 or something now. And there's a volunteer, the same man who developed it, who's doing all that work.
Wow.
Free. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. It's very important. The cemetery department uses this constantly. And whenever it goes down, they call me. And the veterans agents use it all the time, Carol, and the planning board, plus hundreds of thousands of people around the world use the website. It's because it's, you know, genealogy. So and we're updating it constantly. And I have professionals who, when it goes down, writes me. I have a sort of a place on my computer for everybody complaining when it's down. So I appreciate the motion and the second, and I'll call a roll if there are no other comments. Hugh?
Hugh Morton, aye.
Mark?
Mark Schmidt, aye.
Dale?
Dale Weber, aye.
Phil?
Phil Weinberg, aye.
Tim?
Tim Gillespie, aye.
Betty? Aye. That is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Betty, I think you missed me.
You missed Garrett.
Garrett, I missed you.
Yes.
Garrett,
Garrett Stuck, aye.
thank you. All right, I'm trying to adjourn. Okay, so the last thing is the bills. And you've seen the bills. Are there any questions? Maria, did you give out the RAD sports bills? Did you send those out tonight? You didn't get those. All
No,
right. So
I
you've
didn't get
seen-
back in time.
You've seen the bills here, and I've allocated them. You can see them now. I've allocated them by the project. And there are 2 other bills that just came in yesterday. What did I do with it? Okay. All right. So are there any questions about these bills? All right. So the other bills are from RAD Sports, and it's for the fencing and the dugouts at the WYAA. And they are well along in those, and they sent us 2 bills, which we have not paid. One for $98,140 and one for $135,900. And the purposes of them were what they call site mobilization, site survey and layout, chain link fence material, that's the main thing, prep slabs, foul poles, installing the chain link fencing, and project closeout. That's what those bills are for. So,
A motion to pay those?
to pay everything or to, they're
I
all,
would move that we pay them.
okay. So there's a motion to approve the payment of these bills. Is there a second?
Dale Weber, second.
Dale Weber, second. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, I'll call the roll and I remember Garrett. Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Mark,
Mark Schmidt, aye.
Dale,
Dale Weber, aye.
Garrett,
Garrett Stock, aye.
Tim,
Tim Gillespie, aye.
Betty Slade, aye. That is unanimous. So now
Motion
I'm
to adjourn.
just one,
Betty,
just one.
Betty, you forgot Phil.
Huh?
You forgot Phil.
Did I
There you
forget?
go.
Bill, okay. You can tell I'm trying to get out of here.
Mhm.
All right, I wanted to, about the next meeting, I had put in there that we would meet just before the town meeting, but I think we've gotten everything under control tonight. I don't believe it's necessary to have that meeting. So we will not meet at town meeting, and I think May, I'm canceling all meetings, so the next meeting will be in June. Is that all right?
That's
I just
fine,
had-
as long as you coach me on what I'm supposed to say when I present our motion.
You're gonna hear from Steve.
Mhm.
But everybody should be there. If anybody puts a hold on, we're gonna have to defend them.
So we have a copy of the motion that's gonna be read, right?
You'll have a copy, yeah. It's the same every year. He mails it to you. Steve, I've already talked to Steve, and Steve said he'll be in touch with you. So you'll
And I
hear
move
the
we
motion
adjourn.
from him. All right, is there a second?
Second,
Can I have a roll call, everybody? Yay.
Yay, everybody.
Yay.
See you at town meeting. Thank you very
Okay.
much for coming.